It's time to create a profitable, scalable, and sustainable studio for yourself and your students. Welcome to Dance Studio Empire. I'm Jen, dance studio owner for 30 years, running multiple locations with over 1,000 students, dance business coach turned mastermind mentor for dance studio owners, creatives, and leaders like you. I know you're committed to growing your studio and creating the time and financial freedom you most want, while also being the best in the industry with a reputation to match. I've coached hundreds of studio owners who have grown to 250, 500, and over 1,000 students using my signature studio scaled method. And in this podcast, I'll give you the clarity, strategy, and CEO mindset to help you do the same. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the Dance Studio Empire podcast. I'm super excited to have you here, and as always, very grateful that you are listening and hope that I am giving you really practical, strategic ideas, solutions that you can actually use in your studio and see the difference. And that is exactly what today's about. It was also what last week's episode was about. So last week was about increasing those studio enrollments. This one is about converting your trials. But all of this is part of that whole enrollment and retention piece that I am talking about at the moment. And I've put together a playbook with all of the strategies that I have used over the years, the ideas that I've used and initiated. And I've put it all together in this document, 35 pages, and it is available for you for free if you would like a copy. All you need to do is send me a DM on Instagram. Just my handle is _JenDalton_, and just send me the message playbook and I will get a copy to you straight away. Anyway, I will remind you of that at the end of the episode, because we are now about to dive into this week's topic, which is the top 5 questions to ask for maximum conversion of trials. Now, a lot of you are saying you've nailed the marketing piece, the Facebook ads, the copy. I'm seeing it come through my feed now. It's really impressive watching the improvement of so many studios over the last couple of years. It's really quite significant. Well done to you. I hope you are actually getting the clicks and the trials booked, and even just being able to start those conversations with different people. So that is definitely the first thing which we are seeing. After that, once they've made that inquiry, then there is just this area where a lot of studios are missing. And this is the point. This is probably the most important and most crucial point of getting a new enrollment in your studio, is this time from that initial inquiry or the initial booking through to the time they get into the studio for that first trial lesson. And so I'm going to talk you through 5 questions that you need to ask yourself to see whether you are doing it. And this will literally just build the base of that experience to up the percentage of them converting at the trial lesson. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, are you initiating touch points? So once someone has put out that initial inquiry with your studio, and again, whether it's the Facebook message, whether it's clicking onto trial for a trial lesson, whether it's sending you a message on Facebook, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a text message, once that initial inquiry has been made, the journey begins. And it's really important right now to stay vigilant and keep on top of this person. Because you think about it, I've spoken about it before, what is the value of one student in your studio? Because think of it that way. So if one student, is worth $1,500 for you for a year, you want to love on and nurture this person with everything, right? So first question, those touch points. So leading up to, you're going to have a conversation with them somehow. Reaching out to them is the first thing to do. And this could be, just getting them in the loop with any necessary information. Maybe they don't want to be locked in at this point. Maybe they're just feeling the waters. They're just seeing whether they can trust you, whether they like you. So you could just be emailing details about what to expect or what to wear. Another thing I like to do is talk about parking. And now this is just coming from me because this is a personal thing for me. If I'm going somewhere new, I like to know where I can park. And so because of that, I've always included that information in initial conversations with people and new inquiries. Like, so you can just let them know. Or if there's no parking, just let them know there's no parking and they'll have to, park in the side streets or something like that. So that's just another little side tip, which I think does make a big difference. And also, those text messages, which I've spoken about, particularly if they're booked in for a trial lesson, just reminding them about that is another touch point. And then we do have the ability to use those apps like Band or Team app, or even just Facebook groups. However, that's a little bit further down in the touch point journey. But I thought what I'll do is I'll give you some suggestions, because I get people saying, like, how many times do we reach out? How often do we do it? And what and how are we reaching out? So, so begin with that initial inquiry. First thing, you should be responding as quickly as possible. And now, whether that's by phone, whether it's email or a message via social media, it's just showing that this person's important and you care about them and you have excellent customer service. Several years ago, or a long time ago now, when I was answering the phones for the studio, I remember I'd ring people back. So say I was teaching and the calls would come through to go through to the message bank. And I remember I'd ring them back. If it wasn't too late that night, I would call them. Otherwise, it would be first thing in the morning and I'd get back to them. And so many times people would say, "Thank you so much for calling me back. I've reached out to 6 other studios in the area and no one's getting back to me. I can't get any answers." And for me, it was like, that was simple. Like that's a simple part, right? So just know that that is valued. And for people who are super busy, they want answers fast, obviously. Again, I put myself in this position. It's like when I'm wanting to know information, I want to know it now. I know that's not always possible because we are teaching a lot of the time. We can't always answer the phone. I get that. But being able to get back to them as soon as possible. And in your message, think about ways you can say, "I'm sorry, I can't get to the phone. I'm either teaching a class at the moment, so I can't be disturbed. However, if you want to go to our website, there are frequently asked questions. You can see the timetable and you could send me a message. Otherwise, leave your details and I'll get back to you as soon as I can." So you sort of give them the options, know that you are going to get back to them. That makes a big difference. It's so small, but makes a really big difference. So that's something to consider. Another way of your touch points, so you've done that initial response, could be via personal email. So sending out that email with their name and the details of your studio. So at this point, they may not have really committed. You're not quite sure what they're doing. So here's where you're going to be giving them the information, like the timetable, your fees. Let them know this might be the time where you're planting the seed about your uniforms and what you expect them to be wearing and why. Plus also, I'd be promoting like the special fun events that happen within your studio, to talking about that. This is a really good point, a time to letting them know these things. Another really important thing when you are addressing these inquiries at this point is using the parent's name as well as the child's name. So if you don't have both, obviously you can't, but just using the names just to personalize it makes a big difference. And the other thing too, I've been caught a few times, don't assume the gender of someone's name. So, and it's tricky because if you don't have the child's name, you might say your daughter or your son. However, you need to be careful. So I actually tend to now just use your dancer or the dancer. So instead of being caught off guard, which has happened, saying, oh, it's actually not my daughter, it's my son, because I've just assumed, which I shouldn't have done. But anyway, so that is also something to keep in mind as well. All right, another one after that, so you could do a personalized email, then there may be a phone follow-up. So this could be a phone call, and this would be, I would do this within a day or two of that initial inquiry, okay? So basically, it's a follow-up phone call. Maybe you haven't had a response from the email, you're not quite sure what's happening. You make this call. Now, this, if they answer, it will be then the opportunity for them to ask any questions. It also gives you the opportunity to provide additional details. You could even discuss their dance goals, like something like that. That's how you could bring up the conversation. I just love getting on the phone to talk about what maybe your child's dance goals are. But you want to be on the forefront of this conversation. You want to be attentive. You want them to know that you are open and welcoming and are really quite excited for them to come to your studio. So this is a good opportunity for that too during this phone call. If they don't answer, you of course can leave a message, a voice message, which goes a long way. It still goes a long way. All right, after that, I would be then doing a text message follow-up. So again, a day or two later, just sending that text, just a friendly text, just to addressing them by name again. And maybe you could introduce yourself as the owner, or maybe the studio manager of, or the office extraordinaire person, whoever's sending it, but make it personal. So it's not just like a general text to everyone, like a copy and paste, which it could be, but must make sure that it appears personal. So it's coming from someone. You can, in this text message, encourage them to share their thoughts and any questions that they may have. And again, you want to just be maintaining that warm, that welcoming, and that helpful tone, which just emphasizes your commitment to making sure that their dance journey is enjoyable and memorable. And if this is the service that they're getting at this point, this is the attention that they're getting at this point, then they should be able to expect that this is what's going to be continuing once they do join your studio. And so it's important to just put in the time right now. But you do need to maintain it, by the way. You do need to keep it up once they do enroll. Okay, so then also in this text message, you may send an invitation for them to come and watch a class. So maybe they haven't committed to a trial, but why don't you open up with an invite to say, just come and watch a class. If your child feels so inclined, they could join in, give it a go. But I just find that invitation to come in, it's like the open door idea. It gives them that experience where they actually will get to feel the atmosphere of your studio and feel your teaching style or your teacher's style. So I just think this is a good one, because I think in a lot of cases, studio owners or teachers just don't want parents in, they don't want to see, and it's more just fear that they're going to be judged. But generally, I don't really think that is the motive behind it, but I do understand that feeling of being watched and judged. But this just is basically saying the door's open, please come and see. You could offer an information session or even a studio tour. So again, you're still trying to encourage them to get in the doors to start that conversation. You could do this in person. It could even be done virtually. Like if you put together a video of your studio, just the premises from where you park through to the front door, where you would sit, where the kids would put their bags, the bathrooms are. You can do that as a video, pop it into YouTube, and it is something that you could send to them so they could see it. Or you could even invite them in and just say, come in for a studio tour. There'll be several staff on site. You'll be able to be introduced to them and just sort of explain it and really talk about, at this point, the values and the culture of your studio. So again, you're just sort of really opening up the door to letting them know exactly who and what you are offering. Then after that, those regular follow-up emails. So then over the next few weeks, I would be doing this, like sending follow-up emails. You could share testimonials from current students. You could talk about success stories. You could show photos of concerts or fun events that you may have had within the studio. but also just give them information about these events and the fun things that they could be a part of. Just keep that communication lines open, just to maintain their interest. And then hopefully at this point, they have then committed to a trial class, just to come in once. If at this point they basically say, stop contacting me, I've had enough, you're annoying me, absolutely just say thank you, wish them well. And I always will say, our door is always open if you change your mind or if circumstances change. I will always say that. So I do that. And if they've done that, beautiful, you can take them off your list. I would keep them on an email list, for a list that you can actually use maybe if you're running workshops, or at the end of the year when you're looking at enrolling for the following new year. They may be on a list where you can trigger them, because you just never know what people's circumstances are. However, at that point, I would stop if they've asked you to stop. But hopefully they have now they've now registered for a trial class, and they're in. So you want to just make sure you keep up that commitment to the communication and being welcoming and open. Once they have then registered or they're booked in for a trial class, you want to let them know exactly what happens from there. So again, those really clear instructions, the communication when they come in, what they need to bring, what they need to wear, where to park for those parents, where to park. That's a good time there. And it may even be an opportunity to say, if you do register on the spot, there's a 10% discount for any uniform that you may order, or, something like that. Give them a reason to enroll right then and there. And you want to make that process simple. Okay, make it really, really easy. They've done that trial class, and they've come out, and I've spoken about the 4 ways trials will end. But the first thing is you need to make sure that it's very easy and convenient for them to do it right away. Whether that's forms they need to fill in, whether it's through a device, whether you've got an iPad where they can go in, whether it's a QR code they can scan and go straight to your management system and put in their details. So whatever it is, just make it easy. All right, they are just some examples of a touch point flow for those who do ask. There's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of just keep letting them know that they're welcome and they're loved, and you're just opening the doors and your heart to let them know that they are welcome. All right, that's the first question. Now, number 2, the second question is, was their first class spectacular? Okay, now the importance of once they're in that classroom, so they get to the door, you want from the minute they are at the studio door to feel comfortable, to feel welcome, and know what to do or what to expect. Now, if it's possible, if you could have a dedicated staff member to greet them at the door, brilliant. If you don't, maybe a sign, just giving them a rundown, head to the right, pop your bags on the blocks, you can fill your water up, the toilets are to the left, and then sit in the waiting room until the teacher comes out to get you. You can give them guides. So if you don't have a person, don't freak out, that's fine. I was this person at my studio. So especially for those first, 3-4 weeks where it's intense with lots of new people coming through the door, and, all your returning students, like not quite sure what room and what studio they're meant to be in and what class they're up to. I was that person, and I loved it. I loved it because I ensured that every single person that walked through those doors was given eye contact by me, and they were spoken to by me and made to feel at ease. And I think that is such a big thing. And again, I go back to myself. Like if I'm going into a new environment and I don't know where to sit and I don't know what to do, even as a grown adult, it sort of feel weird and awkward. I'm like, what do I do? I don't really want to ask. I don't want to impose. So don't let them feel that way. Let them know that it's a safe space and they've told what to do. And if they have questions, they can ask. It's just making them feel comfortable and feel at home as best as possible. And then you also want to make sure that classroom experience is exceptional. And I have episodes on how to do that. I can't remember off the top of my head when, but that classroom experience is crucial. And it's up to you as a studio owner to make sure that that's managed and that your teachers are executing. If it's not you taking the class, make sure your teachers are executing that experience. Because you want to remember that those first impressions really matter. So if the first day they walk into your studio, it's just so important that they leave with a lasting positive memory. Okay, number 3 is, are you giving regular communication? So keeping in touch with the parents regularly. Now, this can be via a phone call. This could be via a text message. What I've found that is really powerful is quick videos. So sharing a video with the parent, just showing them what they've been doing, showing them how in class their child was smiling and having a good time, or they were, excelling in certain areas. If a parent can see that, it's going to give them that reassurance very quickly that their child's in the right place and they're good to go. They're with you for life. We now have the apps like your band app or your team app where you can upload those photos. If they've already registered and they're on those apps already, just giving them just that feedback, it just makes them feel more comfortable and trust you sooner. So remember, parents are genuinely interested in their child's journey and the growth, and showing them that you understand and that you're sharing their goals and growth and passion just really goes a long way. So it's worth just putting in the effort, setting that up. And that can be done automatically. Like, you can have that set up in your automation sequence within your video, within your email sequences. Be done. It could be a task that you give to an admin person working for you, or say you've got a senior student who's doing some extra hours. This is a task that they could do. So it's simple ways to do it, but very important. Okay, moving on to the 4th question. Have you followed up? So this is different. This is the follow-up after that first lesson. So this is the perfect time to discuss the experience and answer any questions or concerns that this family may have. Hopefully they've come in, they've done it, they've literally walked out and said, that was the best experience ever, sign me up, take my money. That is definitely the goal. However, not always possible. Do that follow-up. It shows that you are genuinely interested. It shows that you remember their child. You are aware that they were in the class. That has been said to me before, like when we were doing a follow-up and the parent said, I can't believe you followed up. Like, her last studio, they didn't even know she was in the room. So little things like that, again, good impressions. You can ask them how their child felt. Like, does the child have any feedback? These are the conversations that are invaluable because it makes them feel heard and it makes them feel valued. Additionally, these discussions then allow you to adjust your approach, like based on that feedback. And if there are a few concerns that do come up, you can just respond and you can fix them. Best thing about it. So definitely the follow-up. And then finally, the 5th question is, are you giving a red carpet experience? So, like I've sort of touched across each of the points, it's just so important to make sure that each and every one of those new students still should be for your current students as well, but those new students and their parents feel like a VIP, right? You want it clear that they are special, they're important enough to be recognized, remembered, to know their name, regardless of their ability or their, depending on what level they've come in at. And I know this will vary obviously over different studios. I get that. However, if you just put yourself in that position again, particularly if you have children and you know what it's like when a child goes into a new activity or a new venue or is surrounded by new people, how important it is for your child to feel comfortable and seen and important. And so how are you going to do that? Now, this really will fall back on your staff as well. It does take a team to have this impact, but it is worth focusing in on. And again, you could just be considering that follow up and the feedback from those classes, letting them know, again, with the photos, the videos, that's where they'll really be able to see the joy that's in their face, and just sharing those accomplishments, because it's about the child progressing as much as they're enjoying it as well. So that's the importance of that red carpet experience. And that's what they will talk about. So even at the end of all this, if they get through the trial and it's not for them, that's okay. They've had a great experience. And then in a lot of cases in my studio, if they didn't join at that point, maybe they went off to another studio, they generally will come back, or they will tell a friend who's looking for a studio similar to what we were offering and say, go and try this studio. It was great because of the experience they had. And so this is where you're going to get your conversion. So even if it's not that particular person that comes through, it will be someone that they refer to you. So do you see like the impact that just these little tiny things all together make in converting those trials? And for us, now the other thing too, there are some studios, and this has been us over the years, where we're looking at 250, 300 trials that are booked in. And so that's a lot of humans. So this was obviously when I had 6 locations and we had trials all over the place. But for every single one of those, they had to feel like they were the only most important person in that room. So regardless whether you had a group of 10 new ones, every single one of them needed to feel that. And we got really good at doing that. And I think that is another credit to our numbers and a credit to our conversion rates, which are always extremely high. And I put it down to this. So I've given it all to you. I've talked you through it. This information is also available in that free playbook that I told you about. It's the Enrolment, Accelerator and Retention Playbook. It is all there. It is in dot point form. You literally can go through and you can tick and you can cross and you can change and you can add. It's all yours and it's free. And all you need to do is send me a message via DM on Instagram is the best way. My handle _Jen Dalton _ and just send me a message saying playbook and send me your email and I'll send it off to you for free. And you'll get the benefit of it as well. Because remember, these are the strategies and the ideas that I've actually used and implemented over the years for the success that I then had. So it's not just ideas of airy fairy, this sounds really good. They're actually tried and tested. So it's all yours. Just let me know. That's DM me, Instagram _Jen Dalton _ and just message me playbook. All right, guys, that is it for today. That's a pretty long one for me. I am hoping that right now you are in the throes of new enrollments, new inquiries, lots of trials being booked. Remember, enjoy the experience. After these couple of weeks, things will settle down again, and then my focus is going to be on simplifying. But for now, I totally know what you're going through. I'm excited for you. And I look forward to hearing how the start of this dance season is going for you.